Yep, exactly that. You want to bring more people in. You want to put more people's eyes on your product. Make house shows unpredictable. Drop a title. Sorry, I got cramp.
No.
Ah.
So while you try to massage out that cramp, you need more of a minute?
I'm good. It's getting cut anyway.
Okay.
Don't worry. Oh, fuck.
Okay. Jeez.
Oh my
You
god.
okay?
Sorry, dude.
I'm not laughing at pain. I'm
It's
laughing
gone.
at the
It's kind of gone. Oh. Yeah, they'll get cut. That's getting put on the bloody open. Oh my god.
Okay.
Hello and welcome once again to the Pro Wrestling Post podcast with myself, Mark Blake, and my buddy, it's Marvelous Mark Madison. How are we doing, fella?
Floating like a butterfly, swinging like a actually wrong boxer, right? Wouldn't that?
You could swing.
Yeah, I can swing. That's a different show altogether.
That is After Dark.
Yeah, that is.
That's like War Underground.
I'm confusing Marvelous Marvin Hagler with Muhammad Ali, who's floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee. But
Christ, what boxer that would have been.
I'm feeling good. Yeah, yeah.
So you doing all good? I am. Let me just turn my microphone. It's very unprofessional, but there we go. I am very good. It is 6:25 on a Friday evening. My work week is done, and I'm on my third Peroni of the day. And life is sweet. Peroni, for you lot out there, is a rather tasty Italian lager. And I have about 18 bottles downstairs. I'm not saying I'm going to get through them all today, but there's a high chance I could. How about you?
I'm not enjoying a Peroni, although you actually, when you came over, to your credit, got me interested because your lovely wife mentioned it was one of your beverages of choice. Mm-hmm. And then I think I might have given you a 6-pack, but I think I ended up buying more just because I was curious myself. Yeah, so I nestled my way through it. So it's a great beverage for sure.
It's a lovely drop.
It really is. It really is. Myself right now, just work week is ended. We have here in Canada a 3-day weekend coming up. So there's like the Monday's a Victoria Day, based on the Commonwealth, Queen Victoria, based off of that. And so we're going to try and do a little yard work and some R&R as much as can be. And yeah, maybe enjoy some wrestling this weekend and the whole 9 yards. Yeah, but work has been pretty much taking me and beating me senseless, and I'm looking forward to the weekend and SmackDown this evening. And so, yeah. I only have a tall coffee with me at hand, so nothing really exciting, I will say that.
The caffeine's going to power you through till this evening where you can have a Peroni yourself. If you've got any left, actually. Oh, hello.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Did you go looking for them?
So I got to tell you, the door to our office was open and my cat was meowing senselessly. So that was a problem.
Never mind. It's all good. I mean, I would say we're live, but we're not. Although that is a conversation you and me are going to have offline.
Okay.
Just sowing the seeds there, ladies and gentlemen, sowing the seeds. This week, we are cracking on again with the two guys in a bar because I can't talk for Mark, but I had quite a few DMs from people who really enjoyed, how can I put it, the format of the show. If you want to get really, technical, it was, just as it says on the tin, just two guys chopping it up. And because we got so much, because I got so much good words from people, you decided to say, right, let's do another one this week. Forget the news, forget everything else in the world. To be fair, it's a pretty slow news week, so there's not much going on. And you messaged me, said that you have a few topics that I literally have no idea what you're talking about today. To me,
which is what will make this that much more interesting, because literally we are processing on the spot, thinking on the spot. Did any of those DMs, I have to ask you, did anybody propose any names for our metaphorical pub?
No. They were basically, it was very much along the lines of great pod, loved how it went. You two have a good rapport. Like to hear more. Oh, that rhymed. But that was basically the gist of it. I know I said to you and you listeners that I was going to put a post up on Twitter about naming the pub, but let's just say that I had a bit too much to drink on the record, and then I had a lot too much to drink the very next night because I had a family gathering, and then Sunday I was, as us Brits call it, hanging out of my arse.
Well, if anybody had seen the picture that you sent me of your state on the Saturday, I've never seen a more conflicted. I shouldn't be here. I don't know why I'm here, but I'm a good sport, so I'm here. Kind of look. That's kind of like the look you gave.
I felt very much like a fish out of water. It was my cousin's 16th birthday party, and there were throes of teenagers, and it was myself, my wife. There was lots of other older members of my family, as well as my wingman. But my wingman was talking and messing around with the teenagers. So all us oldies were basically sat there twiddling our thumbs going, what the hell do we do? So me and my cousin, who I grew up with, and we're like brothers, we kind of hit the bar and we were drinking and taking shots. And next thing I know, it's 4.5, 5 hours have gone and I'm staggering home. So good night had by all, I think. Yeah, not that I'm an alcoholic in any way, shape or form. I hardly ever drink, but when I do kind of take it to the excess. So
yeah,
be warned, folks. Be warned.
But it makes it so much fun. Like what listeners were getting last week was, I mean, if you were 5 deep at the end of our show, there's no way of being able to tell, because you kept that professional hat on for sure, no doubt.
I have had plenty of years of drinking practice. I've also had plenty of years of drinking practice and working behind the bar whilst slightly inebriated. So I can work like the best of them when I'm slightly inebriated / drunk.
Excellent.
On that note, I shall have a swig, and I am now throwing the doors open to you. You are taking over. You are the host, and I'm going to sit back and worry about what you're going to say.
I wouldn't be too worried. So I think all of us as wrestling fans, as it's 2024, we know we're not far removed from COVID. We're not far removed from a pandemic. It affected all of us, right? In one way, shape, or form, our families, our lives. But even wrestling got affected. And because it got affected, one of the biggest changes that had happened at that time, and it's starting to bounce back, were house shows. And so us as wrestling fans, if we didn't get a chance to see it, well, we're watching it, unfortunately, AEW. We're watching it in a really modified kind of arena in Jacksonville. And if we're watching it in the WWE, we had their Thunderdome era, right? We're watching. I can't believe we're going to actually flip back to thinking that. Do you remember Thunderdome?
I remember the Thunderdome and those disembodied heads that were floating around in the background and that were about 3 to 5 seconds behind the action in the ring. Yeah, that was off-putting, to say the least.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, we've moved away from that, and gradually house shows have increased. But what's been the one thing that's increased more so? And I'm going to ask this as a kind of a leading question over the last 2 years per se. let's say 2023 per se, 2024 definitely, that's been pretty common in AEW and WWE as it pertains to shows?
I have no idea. Enlighten me.
Okay. Okay, so let's I'm gonna mention some places. I'm gonna mention, and there's gonna be a commonality. We're gonna look at All In taking place in the UK, in London. We're gonna talk about Puerto Rico. We're gonna talk about France. We're gonna talk about Canada. We're gonna talk about what's the commonality that we're noticing with AEW and WWE.
Right, I'm with you now. Okay.
Okay.
So the commonality is that there's a lot of pay-per-views being held outside of North America.
Okay. So, with a lot of pay-per-views being held outside of basically AEW and the WWE are North American based, right? And so they're really putting emphasis on it being a global entity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see this as the trajectory, the way to reach their audiences more so? Is this going to be the standard moving forward?
I've got to be very, very, very careful here because I can see me in about 5 minutes' time ranting really, really bad about something that links to what this subject is. So before I get there, do I think it's a good thing? Of course. The backlash in France. Those fans in Lyon were rabid. Absolutely rabid. A lot of wrestling journalists and people in general have turned around and said, oh, the UK crowd are absolutely insane. Really? I mean, yeah, we're good. I mean, I'm part of that crowd. We're good. We love it. We appreciate our wrestling. But those fans in Lyon, those 12,500, that was the first time I think that it felt like it was the first time they'd seen a show and they were soaking it in. The chanting, all the way through the AJ Styles match, they were singing alternative lyrics, and the atmosphere that they gave off fed to the matches that were in the ring. I mean, I was expecting a real proper B pay-per-view kind of card and kind of experience. We didn't get that because the wrestlers in the ring were feeding off the crowd who were insane all night and gave us a fair few decent matches. Not going to lie. Go back to Puerto Rico last year. It was Backlash again last year. They were exactly the same. That was the first time they'd been in the country for, I think it was 20 years or so. So if memory serves correct, it is a great idea. I think Triple H has been trying to push behind the scenes for about 5 to 6 years. So the stories in the dirt sheets say that he's been saying we need more pay-per-views outside of North America to show that we are indeed a global entity. And it's working. Now here comes the rant.
Go for it.
Right. With that in mind, Saudi Arabia, I have nothing against them at all. I've some of the shows that they've put on. I mean, there's a show in 2 weeks, The King of the Ring. The Saudi Arabian government are actively lobbying to get WrestleMania over there. Now, I swear down, I'm going to swear myself. I swear down, if the Saudis get WrestleMania before we do, I will fucking go I will lose my mind, and I swear on my son's life, I will stop watching WWE. No fucking way, sorry, I'll bleep these out. No way should any other country in the world get WrestleMania before us Brits. We have been demanding this since day dot. When they came over here in the late 80s, early 90s doing some special pay-per-views, before any other country in the world. We deserve a WrestleMania, not the Saudis.
What do you think was the holdup? Like, why do you think? Sure, I mean, because it got SummerSlam, which was, let's say, top 4 of their pay-per-views back in '92. But why not the push again? Was there a reason between government and,
I think,
or did the company just?
It was Vince. It was Vince. He doesn't like the time difference, and I don't give a shit. Sorry, us, not just us Brits, but us fans around the world have got up at stupid times to watch pay-per-views. And, you know, I've got friends that still watch Raw live at 1 a.m. over here and SmackDown live. Tough shit. I'm going to stop bloody swearing now, because otherwise we're going to get demonetized from the money that we don't get. But Vince wanted to keep it all in-house. By in-house, I mean in America, because of the pay-per-view buys, because that's where he was getting the majority of his money at the time. SummerSlam 92 was different because of the dynamic between Bulldog and Brett. It wouldn't have worked anywhere else. It might have worked in Canada, because obviously Davey Boy had a history in Canada. But I think having the carrot on a stick, which was Wembley Stadium, it is world renowned. And having a show at Wembley Stadium and everything that happened at SummerSlam 92, that was Vince's idea, and then it's been one and done, basically.
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason, is the time delay, because the pay-per-view, I don't think he drew enough pay-per-view buys for that show as he thought he was going to get, and he attributed that to the time difference. Again, I could be wrong, folks. If I am, let me know. Ball me out. It's all good. I'm a big boy. I can take it on the chin.
Okay, so I don't know in comparison, because not to negate them at all, but we loved and have loved New Japan Pro Wrestling and what they provide and what they give fans. But I don't know in comparison what the gross in North American crowd would be to watching New Japan shows, but those that are watching those shows are also getting up on the North American side of it at ridiculous hours, but they're doing it because they love the product. So if it's important enough to you to do it, you'll do it regardless. Right?
New Japan have toured over here. They did, oh my word, how long ago was it? I went with a few friends to a show in Milton Keynes, which is, I don't know, about 2 hour drive from here, maybe 2.5. And they did, I want to say, like a 3 or 4 date tour of the UK. Every single show was sold out, and there were people still wanting tickets. And I think there was at least 10,000 per show. It goes to show that if the product is good, as you just said, if the product is good and people love it, when they deem themselves ready to come over, they're going to make hand over fist.
And you get to see an infectious crowd, somebody that doesn't often get a chance to see. I mean, they'll get their house shows, which will lead to, as part of the other conversation point that I'm going to give you, but we're in reaching out to other audiences. If you're trying to be a global entity, why can't you go into a global market, even if you're based in one country, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're seeing even with AEW. So going in, all in, seems like it's going to almost be, if they're going to stick to Wembley, that's just a great venue, and that's a great home base if they're going to do that, because they're always trying to push the envelope by trying to hit that market.
Yeah, for sure. There is a relationship there between Tony Khan and the people that own Wembley Stadium through the Jacksonville Jaguars, which they play at Wembley once a season, and they have done for about 10 years now. Getting Wembley Stadium is a lot easier for him than it would be for Triple H and anyone in WWE, which I think rubs them up the wrong way. And if I remember rightly, Meltzer said that's why Clash at the Castle took place in Wales 2 years ago, and why it's going to take place in Glasgow this year, because they couldn't get Wembley, even though they're blagging it and saying, "Oh no, we're trying to spread it all around. We're going to go to Scotland, we'll go to Wales, we're going to eventually go to Ireland." Don't talk shit. Oh God, I'm sorry. Don't talk crap. Don't talk crap. It's, if Wembley was available, they would snap your arm off because it would
Oh,
generate more money.
Now, just curious because I mean, prior to air, we were talking about your favorite team, your favorite NFL football team, the Bears coming to Old Trafford, right?
No, get those dirty words out of your mouth. It's not Old
sorry.
Trafford.
Sorry. Okay.
No offense, Man United fans. No offense, Man United fans.
No,
No,
okay.
they're coming.
Okay.
They're coming to the Hot Toddy, the
Okay.
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
So, are the okay? So coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, but any of the other football related clubs, would any venues there be open for having a show? Like, would they seat enough of a capacity that they could retrofit and move a show there?
What,
regardless,
football, soccer teams?
Yeah. To running a WWE show there.
Now, back in January of last year, there were the rumours that AEW were coming over to do a show in the summer of last year. And everyone put 2 and 2 together and come up with 6 because we all thought that they would hold the show at Craven Cottage, which is Fulham Football Club's stadium. It's in London. I think it holds, I'm going to say, I think it's about between 18 and 22,000. But Fulham Football Club is owned by Tony Khan. So again, it makes sense to just kick the team out, or actually it'd be during the off season. So it's another way of revenue for the Khans. So we all thought that was going to happen. When they announced Wembley, we lost our proverbial minds. We was like, oh my God, how are they going to fill it? Obviously, it was never an issue. But we all thought it would be Fulham. I think the stigma of wrestling in general over here has disappeared because of what WWE have done in the recent past over here, putting on shows that are selling out arenas, and then AEW completely selling out Wembley and pretty much going to do the same, if not better, this year. So there could be a lot of stadiums that will be throwing the hats in the ring saying, hey, think about us. The only issue is there's not many stadiums over here that have got retractable roofs. So if you are having a show over here, it's going to have to be during our summer months, and our summer months, even then, it's not guaranteed that you're going to have a dry event. And if on the back of that, you have the seating issue. Wembley is 90,000. I think it goes down to 86 after you put the ring in and all that kind of stuff. There's not many stadiums around that level. The Tottenham Hotspur holds 62,000. You have Newcastle United, which is in the northeast. That would be about 52,000. After that, you're looking at pretty much half of what you can hold at Wembley. So again, it goes down to how much revenue you really want to make.
So now, if the WWE were to come and they don't have a Wembley deal, who would you say may be the one stadium that they have the best shot at trying to pull together? Like running a weekend show, even if it is a WrestleMania, because we've talked about that, right?
If WWE come over and they can't get Wembley, I think they would go to Old Trafford because it's Manchester United. It's Manchester United's home ground. Yeah. One of the most famous soccer clubs in the world. Everyone knows who Man United are. Holds 72, 78. I can't remember how many. But there recently, there was some posts on Twitter from fans at football matches during some inclement weather, and it showed that, the rain was absolutely pouring down, which isn't an issue. We're used to it. We can play football in it. But there was parts of the stadium that have got holes in the roof. There were guttering that was overflowing, and there was water just washing everywhere. Basically, the stadium's falling apart. I'm not going to go into it because it'll go on a different tangent. But there's a lot of talk over here that the owners of Manchester United, which are the Glaziers, haven't invested enough money in the stadium. They've taken a lot of money out and not put money in. and the stadium's now falling apart. So whether that's an issue for WWE, possibly, but if they're coming in the summer, that shouldn't really matter because, touch wood, it would be nice and lovely.
So you mentioned about 72,000. That's the actual seating. That's not including basically the floor seating, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, how many more do you think you could probably get on the floor? Another 5 to 10,000?
Yeah, but then you've got to tarp off. So where the entrance is, where the guys, where the guys and girls come out, you tarp off the section where they are. So you will lose roughly 5,000, maybe, but then you would put that 5,000 on the floor, maybe a little bit more. So even though Wembley's 90,000, you're not going to get 90,000 people there for a wrestling show because of the tarp.
Right.
Like it's basically what they do at SmackDown shows when they're, or sorry, any TV taping where they know they haven't sold enough tickets, they will tarp off sections. So when the camera when it's normally actually it's on camera side, so you can't see it itself. You won't notice that there's seats there; they're just blacked out.
So they got to keep those things into consideration, I guess, when they're doing their seating and that. So, yeah. So now, I mean, I'm hoping for you that the WWE do come over for a WrestleMania for sure. I mean, I'm hoping that. And as a Canadian and a Torontonian, we've had the fortune of having them come twice, right? WrestleMania 6, WrestleMania 18. And you were in the Rogers Center and you've seen how it is now, but you hadn't. I mean, it's a real big difference from how it was WrestleMania 18, and that was over 20 years ago. And so they've done refurbished things. I honestly don't think if they were to ever try to come back that they could seat as many now because of how they've retrofitted things, especially the outfield stadium area. Mm-hmm. So I would be curious as to what they would reconsider. So when our MLS soccer, that's the Toronto FC, I think at its height it might be 25. They're looking at field, and that's not fully covered either. So if they were to ever try to do that sort of thing again, I just don't think that's something they're going to explore. Where if there are bigger areas that could be covered, they're going to try to do that. I see, but I'd be curious. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to look like in Scotland. Are you familiar with the area itself?
No, I've never been to Scotland.
No,
but I know the area. Mm-hmm. Glasgow is very famous. There's two major football teams there. You've got Celtic and you've got Rangers. It's a very, very heated rivalry. So it's a very, very big football, soccer town. I'm going to call it from football from now on. You all know what it is.
For sure.
Or a city. Sorry, not a town. It's a city. So that goes in its favour because the fans of each team can get spicy, let's say. If they carry that spiciness into the show, you're going to have a really good show. And if you get what I read today, Drew McIntyre facing senior champion for the World Heavyweight Championship, that place is going to come unglued for his entrance. I'm telling you now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You think, if you thought, if myself as well, if you thought Leon went crazy for the entire show, you wait for that entrance. Oh my God. Yeah, it's going to be mind-blowing.
So now we've covered the global expansion and how that's been growing over the last couple of years. So the question that I have now is, we have a North American champion. We've got an international champion in AEW. Their continental champion. Do you think the idea of bringing back a European title is something that they could play into or not?
Yep. Check, for one simple reason, check the lineage of that title. Seriously, check the lineage of that title. If people say that the IC title is like the Workers' Championship, which it is to a certain degree, check the people that held the European title. Oh my word. If that's not the definition of a Workers' title, I don't know what is. Bring it back.
We have a whole demographic of people that are, let's say if they were born in 2000, aren't even familiar with the title. So maybe you want to touch base and enlighten people as to who held that title?
Right. You have literally dropped me in it because I'm not ready.
Not a
So
problem. Okay, so
I'm jumping on. I'm jumping on right now. Okay. So
okay,
the lineage of this title. It was, when did it dissolve? It dissolved in 2002. Oh my God, 22 years ago.
yeah.
Damn. It was only
Think
around
about
for
it.
5 years. What?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. So the first ever champion for the European title was the British Bulldog. I mean, come on. If someone
Yeah.
doesn't represent Europe better than Davy Boy, I don't know. Let's have a look.
Mhm.
What else have I got on it? I've gone too far. Hold your horses, folks. Oh wow,
We
this is
got D'Lo
rubbish.
Brown.
This is rubbish. So I've gone onto Wikipedia. It's awful. You have William Regal.
Oh,
William
yep.
Regal's held it for 4 times. Bear in mind, this title's only been around for like 5 years. There's been a fair few people that have held it. You have who else have you got? You got Jeff Hardy. Jeff
Mhm.
Hardy held it, former world champ. Chris Jericho has held it, former world champ. Jeff Jarrett, former world champ. You can see where I'm going with this. Rob Van Dam, former world champ.
Mhm.
D'Lo Brown. I'll move on. We have Spike Dudley. Apparently, he's the lightest champion according to this. He weighed 150 pound. 150 pound.
Wow. Wow.
Damn. I've had no, it's a joke there. I won't go there. So yeah, you see where I'm going. Look for yourselves, folks.
I thought the joke, and I think it was going to be the same joke, and I just kept it to myself.
It was so bloody blatantly obvious. I can't see. That's what gets me in trouble. I will. If there's a blatantly obvious joke, I cannot help myself. I have to say it, or at least say that I'm thinking of saying it. Yeah. So the lineage of the European title, definitely. The only problem is how many titles do you want?
Right. So do you have this title and hold it with kind of provisions like so if you look at the Continental Championship now, how often does that get defended in AEW? I know I'm jumping from promotion to promotion, but it makes sense if we're trying to see how do you get international representation. Is it defended only on international ground?
So
Or
it wasn't.
do you defend it on television regularly? But does it make sense to defend a title that highlights another continent in the opposite continent?
Wasn't when Tony Khan brought in that championship, it was called something else, and they rebranded it
It was the Mid Atlantic, right? Or I think that was
something like that, the Mid Atlantic, yeah.
yeah.
And then it got defended over here. Orange Cassidy turned up at a Rev Pro show and defended the title over here, and then there was lots of other times that he showed up in events in Canada for different promotions. I'm sure that it got defended in Defy Wrestling once. I could be mistaken, but it was being defended in different indie shows. That, to me, was brilliant. The marketing on that is superb. You've got a well-known national face coming to your town to defend a national, international championship. That was brilliant. And then all of a sudden it got changed to this international championship. And apart from being defended over here at All In and a couple of times in Canada, it hasn't had that thing. How can I put it? So when it first came out, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was a really good idea that not only was it being defended on Dynamite and at pay-per-views, but in different shows, just like I said. And then they rebranded it, and I think it lost to me personally, it lost its luster until you had that little triangle of Ray Phoenix, Orange Cassidy, and John Moxley. That to me raised it all the way back up to the top again because of the way they were. They made that title mean something, and unfortunately, all 3 of them got bloody injured. but they did it in making that title. Can that work again? Can they? The champion, who is it now?
Roderick Strong right now.
Thank you, Roddy Strong. I was going to say Bobby
No problem.
Roode then, but that would not be glorious.
No, it wouldn't be.
It's Roddy Strong. He, it sounds harsh, he doesn't scream champion to me. He never has done. You and I have spoken about Roderick Strong many times, and how I don't rate him. How can I put it? To me, he doesn't scream star quality. He's a wrestler who does his job very, very well, but he's not championship material to me.
I think you've got so many other people that have that total quality, that total package type quality about them that they kind of surpassed him. I mean, I'm a Roddy Strong fan, always have been, and he's a wrestler's wrestling fan, right? And that's okay for me, because maybe I'm not expecting everything else, and maybe him winning the title was because, gosh, Orange had the title forever, and change was needed. But is he going to be a transitional champion? I guess we'll find out against Will Ospreay, right?
I'm not being right. Again, you know this. A couple of the listeners know this. I am not a fan of Will Ospreay, the person. I am a huge fan of Will Ospreay, the wrestler. And the way they're booking him, the presentation that he's getting, there is no way on earth he's not walking out as champion. No way. The only thing that sucks is that he's walked in with all this big brass band behind him. He's got all the fireworks. They're pushing him to the moon. Why is Tony Khan not committing and pushing him to the moon and going for the top prize? Why is he stuck?
That's a great question. Okay, so I actually have a theory on this, and maybe this is why this conversation about international appeal and international representation becomes the focal point. Maybe putting an international championship on somebody that goes back and forth between the US and in the UK almost weekly, because he has family there, also provides an opportunity for that title to be defended fairly regularly by a big name. They've just put the title on Swerve. I mean, to have him thrust and compete for it right away, it almost feels unfair to Swerve, because this pomp and circumstance could overshadow him. I mean, Swerve's wonderful at what he does, but it could overshadow him. But to have maybe that international representation, maybe that's where they're going with it. What do you think?
I think that they backed themselves into a corner when they made Swerve champion. I said to you and many others at the beginning of this year, Swerve will not win it until later this year. Because he needs to earn it. Yeah, he did earn it. He really did earn it. But I think putting the Booker's head on, if you leave him like going down the Tommy Dreamer route, the oh so close kind of, I'm so close I could taste it kind of route, stretch that out, eke that out all the way to World's End later this year. Do it then. Don't do it like they did, because now you're stuck. To me, there's no credible's not the word. There's no top tier talent ready to face Swerve for the title. Personally, Christian, I mean, come on. I love Christian.
No disrespect.
Yeah, no disrespect. I mean, I love Christian to pieces. What he's doing now with the patriarchy, he's like, people always talk about how Chris Jericho, he's amazing because he reinvents himself every so often. So does Christian. It just goes under the bloody radar. He is a genius. Problem is, I don't think he's at main event level. I really don't. And putting him in the program with Swerve, it's lackluster. Sorry, that's wrong. The program itself isn't lackluster. I think the end result is going to be, Swerve retains. We kind of knew it was going to happen anyway. Next. That's what I'm getting from that. So if you kept the title on Samoa Joe and then Joe faces Will, then you've got right there. You really make and you solidify Will. And if Swerve carries on with his face turn, just roll reverse, literally roll reverse. Say, right, I can't win the big one yet. I need to prove myself, so I'm going to go for this title. Roddy Strong, you're next. All that kind of, and then towards the end of the year, it wouldn't be Will versus Swerve. It would be Will would have dropped it to another heel. But that's, to me, that's how I would have done it. But I'm sat at home on slightly more than minimum wage, and I'm not in charge of a wrestling company. It kind of says everything, really.
I mean, the same thing could then be said about Okada, right? Like, so where does the Continental title hold? Does it hold an international feel to you, or is it more U.S. based? And is he the right? I don't think he's Okada, for goodness sakes. He should.
Okada shouldn't be holding that title at all. Not at all. Okada's there. This is going to sound really, really dickish and really selfish, but Okada's there for Okada Omega 4. That, to me, that's all I want. He can bob along on the ocean waves and just take it easy until Omega comes back, and then it's going to be all hands on deck. We're going to get another 7-star banger. 7 stars, for fuck's sake.
Maybe they turn that into a triad feud, and that's where it's an Osprey, Omega, Okada. And that's where these three, they're having three-way matches for a title, and that's a program that they can carry on. And we were talking bangers, there you got that, right? And potentially you throw Bryan Danielson into that, and that becomes even more special, because if you've got all these guys that are bona fide stars, they should all be fighting for the top prize. Should all be fighting for the top prize.
Definitely. It sucks as well that sorry.
The world title moved around a lot during the Attitude Era between Bret Hart and then The Undertaker and then Stone Cold and then The Rock and then Triple H. I mean, can we say that anybody had a really long-standing reign? The title moved around. It moved around, and I don't think it appreciates the title, but it's got big names that should be the focal point at some point.
If you can back it up with the stories. If the storytelling is good enough, you can hot potato the title. Well, not saying that back then it got hot potatoed, but if the storytelling is good and you can... Eric Bischoff, I used to listen to his podcast, that is 86 Weeks, whatever it was, and eventually he got on my bloody nerves, so I stopped listening to it. But he did always make one really good point. So when you're booking a show, when you're booking for a promotion, you need to have 4 storylines that run concurrently. You need to have your A, your B, your C, your D. Your D one is your very short term, 3 to 4 weeks. Your C is your short term, which is like 8 to 12. C and all the way up to A. Tony Khan, whoever he's got helping him book the show, because damn sure it's not the wrestlers anymore. It doesn't feel like there's concurrent stories running through it anymore. When COVID hit and they were stuck in Jacksonville, that is when AEW found itself. And you can ask any fan, wrestling fan this, that's when they found themselves. They were stuck, they were grounded, they had to do something, not different, or not even set them apart, but they had to do something to show the world that they're still here. They're not going to get lost because WWE's in the Thunderdome and all that kind of malarkey. That's when AEW was at its best. It really was. And like I said, I don't know what's happened. It's been happening for about a year, but the storytelling, even short-term and long-term storytelling, just hasn't been there for me. The matches, it feels like New Japan. I can dip in and out of New Japan, not know anything that's going on, because I know the matches will make it. And it's the same with AEW. I can dip in and out. I haven't even seen Dynamite yet this week. And it's Friday, which is the cardinal sin for me. It's the matches. Bryan against Will. No story needed. It was 2 great wrestlers who wanted to wrestle each other. The storyline 3 weeks, maybe four promos total, and the match was absolutely outstanding. And then you could have a feud that lasts 2 months, 3 months. I'll tell you what, Punk against MJF.
That was
I was bored.
The feud.
You were bored. 3
really?
weeks.
Why so?
3 weeks in, I was bored because it's the same. They're retreading it, but doing a different take on the same story each and every week.
And they just stretched it out, you think, until...
Yeah, they eked it out. The wrestlers that you're giving the storyline to have to convey to the audience that A, they believe the story, and B, they can stretch it out as long as the boss man needs it to. Mm-hmm. Tony Khan, I didn't think had a payoff in his head of when the payoff was going to happen. To me, it just dragged. We all wanted MJF to get his comeuppance. Yeah. We all wanted MJF to get his comeuppance. We all wanted him to get his face smashed in and all this kind of stuff. It just took its sweet ass time. And by the time the matches turned up, yeah, the matches were good, but it was overkill by that point. To me, personally, again, shoot me if you want. I don't care. I'm going to go back to last week. Opinions like arseholes. It was too long of a storyline because the story, the booking itself wasn't great. The story itself wasn't that great. And by the time they had their like the end of their feuds, they'd wrestled how many times? It was,
I think only 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. And nah. I'm over it now.
You know, I think I see, and I have a different take on it because I have appreciation. Like they had callbacks to, both of them seem to be real students of the history of wrestling, and doing the dog collar match, and CM Punk has had one before, and then him pulling back into ROH and his music and theme music then too. I think there were a lot of memorable moments that was cool. Probably is, and that's probably what excited me, is all those moments and how he wanted him to be his Valentine, and all those little moments that interconnected, and yeah, there was only 3 matches between them, but there was other parts. You know, it led to the dissolving of Wardlow being there, and how that led to something else. And maybe it's one thing led to another, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think they were equals on the mic. I think constantly pulling back and mentioning the other company does a disservice. You can only do that so much. But I don't know. I wish they competed against each other more. If there was more, I can see that part, that getting lost, right? Why does it only have to be 3 matches over 6 months or that? Unless that was part of the plan, I don't know. But
I'll tell you what. You spoke about the Attitude Era and the title and everyone that was involved in the chases back then. I know that they get panned a little bit for the booking back then, but when you had like you had Sean and Steve team up and win the tag belts when you knew they didn't get on, and you knew some point down the line they're going to have a match for a title at some point. When you had tag matches or multi-man matches or things that had the 2 main components, it stretched the story out without eking it out, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's happened a few times. Right?
Sorry?
It's happened a few times. I mean, you've had Shawn and John Cena being tag team champions, and that was just a precursor for them to like implode.
But I think that's what's missing. I know it's well reported that Tony Khan adores New Japan and the way that is seen, where it's the matches that count, and I'm all for that. I'm 100% for that. Like I said, I can dip in and out of New Japan, not really know much of the storyline, but the match is what sells it for me. The problem is that AEW puts itself up against WWE, and if by doing so you have to kind of not follow in its footsteps, but kind of be like it. You can't be a New Japan on US TV. It cannot work.
Okay, so I want to rein us back in because I started off with a whole international feel, so I want to stick back to that. And it's okay. I want to stick back to that mantra because you mentioned some really important things that I don't think we should just kind of one and done and be gone with it. You mentioned the idea of the international title or Mid Atlantic, whatever it was called, being defended on house shows, right? And so the feel that I'm getting now is, I mean, we're seeing this King and Queen of the Ring. So should these title matches that are happening, should house shows also be given as much of a light and get away from the stigma of, well, it's just a house show. You're going to miss, like, nothing ever memorable happens, but should more be given to house shows and be valued like they were before you and I were twinkles in our children's and our parents' eyes? Like, I mean, should it be valued that even if there's no cameras rolling, something is rolling and titles still change hands, storylines still get progressed?
In your estimation, what do you think is the most famous house show of all time?
A curtain call.
Exactly. And why did that happen? Off the cuff. No one planned it. It just happened. No. Why also did it happen? Vince and everyone else weren't there. So it wasn't exactly the inmates running the asylum, but it was damn bloody close.
I thought he was. I thought he asked. I think it was. They had asked for consent to just go out and just say goodbye.
I think Vince had left before the end, and I think Vince had turned them down. And then they just like, well, fuck it, we're gonna do fire us, and they went out anyway. I'm, again, folks, let me know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, correct us.
But that's as you said, you want the unpredictable to happen at a house show. There were times, I don't know who it was during John Cena's reign, many reigns as champion, but there was, I'm sure there was an IC title switch at a house show, and then the very next house show. Sorry.
Didn't Diesel win the world title? Didn't he beat Bob Backlund during a house show?
At a house show, yeah. Things like that. And then there was an IC title switch at a house show, and then at the very next house show, the very next day, it switched back again. And you want things like that to happen at house shows. I mean, have you've been to a house show before, haven't you?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. So they're not TV tapings. They're not regimented. They're not stopping for advert breaks and the crowd was all of a sudden left out of it. It is great fun. The wrestlers come out and they look relaxed, and they have fun. We have fun knowing they're having fun, and all these kind of strange things happen. And that's, I think, is what needs to happen more. Who was it in WWE that said that we're cutting back on house shows? It wasn't Nick Khan. It was someone else. But when they said that, it was to save money and keep the wrestlers from tiring out too much and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And now they're slowly ramping them back up again to get people in and sell those tickets even more than what you can. You need to have that unpredictability. Do you know what makes me sad? Is I watch Collision, I will watch Rampage, I will watch Dynamite, and they will have at the bottom of the screen the little ticker that shows where they're going to be next week and all this kind of stuff. And it always says tickets still available. That sucks for me because I would like to think that all these main event shows are sold out weeks in advance. It's that lack of unpredictability, personally, that I think people are going, nah, seen it, I can watch it at home, it's fine.
Yeah. And you can pick the winners on Collision and Rampage 99% of the time. And I think And I think what I want to give props to WWE. I mean, look at it twofold with them not having a certain King of the Ring or Queen of the Ring match on television, and those being relegated to a house show. You have to know who won that, so they have to do a callback to wherever they competed for that match. Oh, this is what happened. This is the highlight. You don't want to miss out because it ties in with what's happening on screen. So,
Do you know how much flack they have got recently for doing that? Oh, it's a King of the Ring qualifying match. It should be on TV. Whoa.
yeah,
Shut up. Absolutely shut up. That's, as we just said, we've just talked about unpredictability, and they're throwing it at you, and they're going, no, sorry, not having it. It should be on TV. Shut up. Jump in the sea, you idiot.
but you can't have it both ways. You can't want it to be unpredictable and then want to be able to sit comfortably. Well, no, you miss out. Whoever bought that ticket, and their house shows are they're not ramping them up. I think to an obscene amount. I think it's between a Friday and a Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is what they're competing, and that's their movement. They're not competing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's 4 days. Anybody else is they have a work week. They work 5 days a week typically. It's no different here, right? They're competing 4 days a week, and there's travel that has to come to play for the other time. So to have that internationally, when you were talking about them doing that and competing, defending the AEW, the international title here, there, and everywhere, and doing callbacks to that, oh, this is what happened here. I think it will, as a fan, entice you want to go to a house show rather than just the big shows. Okay, so we mentioned the idea of the European title coming back. Should U.S. or North American based titles, so the United States Championship, North American titles, should they be defended primarily in designated areas? So represents a certain country or continent. Should that be where it's defended? Does it hold as much value to person X, Y, or Z on the other side of the world? Does it matter?
First things first, defend a bloody title more often. No more fanning about and doing 45 days between each defense. No. Let's bring back the 30-day rule, every title, for a start, across all promotions, not just WWE, but every promotion. Secondly, should it stay in the continent it says it is? I don't see why not. With the intercontinental and international, I think the caveat to that is that because the name of the title, it can be defended across the globe, same as the world title. So the US title, the North American title, that should literally only be defended on that continent. It won't, because if they're trying to build a card and they're running out of things to think about, we'll throw this title on the card, etc., etc. In all honesty, would it add to the prestige? I very much doubt it. The US title, I can't even remember a time when the US title. I can't think. Who had it? Someone had it in WCW. Oh my god! I think didn't Ric Flair have it?
At one point, Lex Luger had it a lot.
Yeah,
Sting
exactly.
had it. Yeah.
Sting.
So we're talking early '90s, right?
That's what I mean. So these. What was it? What was it? The title doesn't make the man makes the title. To a certain degree. To a certain degree, if you want to elevate that title, I tell you what. Recently, well, not so recent, in the last 10 years, when John Cena was US champ, and he defended it with the open challenge, and Kevin Owens came up, and all that kind of stuff, he made the US title feel important. That, I think, was the last time, I think personally, that that title felt important. And then with the IC, it would be Gunter / Walter.
Yeah.
And his momentous reign and everything else that he did, I mean, since Sammy's won it's kind of been lost, and that's nothing against Sammy. It's just got lost.
Yeah. Well, I think all of these titles are just trying to find their footing. Like they're coming off of ending two massive reigns, right? One over 1,000 days and one over 600, and so it's a recoup for Cody with this title. Him holding it anything less than a year definitely diminishes everything I think Roman did by just holding the title. And then
he's gonna go straight to Mania next year, isn't he? Against Rock.
Yeah. Provided he stays healthy. I mean that's always a caveat with any of these guys, right?
Yeah, that's true. Very true, true. Touch wood.
Yep. So I mean we've got an international feel with our titles, but now if you look at the women's side of things, NXT's got an NXT North American Championship. So do you see a secondary women's title holding? Do you bring in an international title to represent and add to that discrepancy, or is just the roster's not deep enough, or can it be defended in different brands?
Who's
Person, that champion.
Is this WWE or AEW?
It could be. I'm gonna not touch AEW. I'm gonna go WWE for this one. Yeah.
Okay, so WWE secondary title. Yes, it can work, but I don't think I might get shot for this. I don't think the women on NXT are are talented enough to warrant holding a secondary title.
Well, because they're bringing in the North American title, right?
Yeah, this North American Women's Championship. I don't. Yeah. Lash Legend. She looks good. She's reputable. I was watching Sol Luca against whoever she was facing the other day on Wednesday just gone. On Tuesday just gone. You know, I said last week about the basics, about footwork and knowing where you are in the ring. There were parts of that match where she looked lost. Small parts, but noticeable. And the match kind of slowed down and slightly halted a little bit. And then it sort of, they found themselves again and it went along its merry way. The whole point of NXT is that they train the future stars. So to me, if you are a secondary title holder or a main title holder or even a tag team title holder, you are one of, if not the best that promotion has got before you get called up. I can't see that. I really can't see that in NXT. On the main roster, yeah, it's deep enough.
Yeah.
The women up there bust their ass. Not that they don't bust their ass in NXT. That's the wrong context. But they're a lot more seasoned. It works. But NXT, sometimes I feel like us fans demand things not knowing the repercussions of what we demand. Who's the woman that is with Alpha Academy? Maxine Dupree.
Maxine.
How long? So when was it? It was about 2 months ago where she was in the ring. It was like her third or fourth match ever. And the crowd were booing her out the building. And people were online saying, "You're rubbish. You shouldn't set foot in the ring." The reason why she was in those matches is because the crowd was saying, "Oh, come on, surely you should give her a chance."
Yeah.
So the crowd asked for it. They got what they were given, and then they turned. It just bugs me.
Yeah.
You see signs in the crowd. We demand secondary women's title. I don't think you saw that sign, but you get my drift.
Yeah.
And when they get it, they're like, "This is not what we asked for. This is complete rubbish." You can't win. And sometimes the promotions bend over backwards to keep the fans happy. I'm not sure about this NXT North American Women's Championship. It has to be someone who stands out from the rest of the pack.
So I think there's some of a crossover. So I think like Ivy Nile is part of that.
Yeah.
that tournament. Even though she's on the main roster, I think there is a bit of a crossover. I'm not sure of all the names. I don't know if Kiana James or Fallon Henry, who tend to kind of dip between the two a little bit, but if it's somebody that was recently called up holding that title, I get to see them kind of bridging between the two. But I mean, somebody on the main roster with an international feel, I know it's. I think you're a little surprised that Lyra was called up because she could have probably used some more seasoning.
I wouldn't say she needed more seasoning. She's very, very good. I mean, she's a pro. I thought that her story hadn't finished in NXT. It felt like with Roxanne, it felt like they dragged her out midway through, and it was very jarring. It was like, this story's going somewhere. Oh no, it's not. She's been called up, which is, I think, going to be the death knell. I think she'll get sent back down within the next 6 months. But
I think so.
There's nothing. There's not. Oh, how can I put it? What I said earlier about stories. Okay, if you're calling up, if you're doing on draft day, again, I could be completely wrong, but the way that I see it, if you're on draft day, you have your board in your war room, and you've got your list of talent that you want. The bookers, the people that write the stories, must have some idea of how they're going to use them. If you're bringing up an NXT talent, to me, that says, right, well, that person's going somewhere. They're good because they've just called her up. And when you leave her on the sidelines for 3 months, not saying that she will, but it has happened to people before. The fans forget very bloody easily. They forget. Mm-hmm. So Lyra could be sat on the sidelines for 3 months, has her first match or some meaningful feud, and the fans, it'll just be dead. It'll be a dead crowd. And then everyone will go, oh, see, she wasn't ready. And they'll put her back. Again, it's the fans asking too bloody much.
Do you think she beats Io? Do you think she beats Io? Do you think she beats Io and she goes on to the final? Because it's her and Io in the Queen of the Ring, right? Semi-final.
I don't. I'd like her to, but I don't, because Io's just not long lost the women's championship. They want the company want to do what that AEW are doing with Okada, and they want to try and keep that. What's the word? The eyes of the home country on that person. So with Okada being continental champion, Japan's like, wow, he's only been there that long and he's got a title. With Io, she's lost the women's title, but oh look, now she's queen in a ring. Not that means anything, as again, booking means nothing.
Right. But it's a focal point, right? It's a focal point. And Asuka's apparently she announced on her YouTube, I think, that she's taking a bit of a break or a bit of a hiatus. That's why you're not seeing her coming out. So if she's out and then Io's booking takes a nosedive, it doesn't look good for them either. So
Asuka's, oh man, I'm gonna sound like a right dick again. Asuka, I think, has done her time in WWE. I'm sure I heard rumors not long ago that she wanted to leave and go back to Japan. Again, people shout at me, scream at me. I could be wrong, but if she is on the way out, it's going to be a shame, because I absolutely adore her. I think she's a great talent. In-ring presence is amazing. She can go like the clappers. Io, I think. See, I'm second guessing. Literally right now, I'm second guessing myself. I was about to say I thought she was brought up too soon from NXT, but she had done everything she could in NXT at that time, and there was nowhere for her to go, so she had to come up. Whether or not she stays depends, as you just said, on this Queen in the Ring tournament. It's if she fails, if she fails, there's a story right there where she could chase Lyra and they could trade wins backwards and forwards, and then you've got your feud, and she's still in the public eye. If she fails and she gets pushed to the side, I fear for her.
Well, it feels like they've got her engrossed in this thing with Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, and already to be involved is kind of like the number 2 face. I wouldn't say necessarily she is, but on the Raw side, to be backing, the one person that you beat for the women's title, I don't think they want to stray away too far from that because they could easily pull from that history between them, right? It was Lyra who beat. I'm not going to say she was her mentor, but both being Irish, both having some sort of a history too. I think that they could be planting seeds. Maybe I'm being optimistic, and using. It's funny. There's a meme that's out there right now where they have Lyra facing and Liv Morgan's in front of her, and behind Liv is Becky Lynch, and so the meme says it's got underneath Lyra it says youngest child, where Liv it says middle child, and then behind Liv it's Becky where it says eldest child.
Yeah.
And so the one that tries to talk about the other one.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that
yeah.
that same meme used in a multitude of ways, and it's so good. But yeah, I have seen that meme. Going back to the original point, because again we've gone off on a tangent, and I'm on my 5th beer.
It's all tied to international talent, right? So I'm still keeping it international. I think we're still doing a good enough job, but we're gonna have side commentaries because other things come up. Yeah, it's natural. That's what people do when they talk, right?
I would like it if titles were defended on continents, but as I said right at the very beginning of you asking me this question, defend the titles more. It's plain and simple. You want to elevate it, stick it on TV, have it every week, give it to a big name that's not doing anything at the moment. Just elevate those sodding titles, make them count, because when you make them count, and an up and comer like Lyra, if she's lucky enough to win a title at some point, or anyone else, Ilya, when they win that secondary title, it means so much more. It's not bloody rocket science. Jesus.
No. And there's women that are still hurt or still in the background that could as easily, let's see, what's their role going to be? Maybe Nikki Cross. I hear about them potentially being part of this Uncle Howdy type faction, this Wyatt Six, and whether Alexa Bliss is part of that too, and those two having history and partnership together. I mean, it's giving them immediate. They're still getting TV time, and they're still booked in different ways. So, in looking on the AEW side of things, I don't see another women's title being it. I think other storylines tend to surround the TBS or the women's title, and so I like their other talent, but I don't know where their titles or where the storylines are going if they're not around the titles. So if it's not happening around Toni Storm or not happening around Willow and Mercedes right now for the other one, what storylines are happening with the women that are meaningful, that are getting Dynamite television time, not necessarily Collision or Rampage, right?
So I'm just talking about the Uncle Howdy thing. Just slightly going back. 3 hours ago, on WWE's Twitch channel, there were some glitches.
Interesting.
So obviously they must have been showing some old programming. So Lillian Garcia introduces Kane to the ring. There are some disturbances, and Lillian's voice was manipulated to say Wyatt as Kane made his way into the ring. The screen glitched again, and a serene setting with an ominous chair in a corner was shown.
So I think I sent you a screenshot, but you might have easily come across it yourself, where they've excerpt parts of the words in a graphic to make up the words June 15th, which is Clash at the Castle, and that something happens there. I think that's going to get a nice pop.
If something happens in Scotland, that is going to get an amazing pop. Pop. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you off. Then it just
no. And that's important, right? Some things catch our attention, and does that group have long-standing power? I don't know, but I think if they move Uncle Howdy in the direction of where why it could have been. Bo was a good worker, and let's just hope that happens for him too. You know?
I'm worried that the bookers, the writers, or whatever, don't know what they're going to do with the group, because the moment the group has been seen, they're instantly faced. They're faces by default because of what happened.
Yeah.
And if there's any turn, I don't know if the fans would accept it. So how do you keep this spooky group as a face? I don't know. But we will see. We will see. Now, sorry, going back to your question there about the women on Dynamite. Could you say it again, please? Because I forgot.
Not a problem.
Sorry.
No, I mean, if the titles of the championships are only surrounded around the two storylines are heading pretty much taking up the TV time for the women. If it's not for the TBS championship, it's for the AEW Women's Championship. If the storylines aren't focused around them, where are the storylines happening for the other women, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you care enough, right? It's great to see Harley Cameron and Saraya involved in stuff, but Mariah May is still tied to the AEW Women's Championship, right? And so she still has pull there. Serena Deeb contending for it, she's pulled there. But then when does Brett Baker come back? When is she? I don't think she's hurt. I just think she's just not being used. And so these are women that can get themselves over and build with some really quality storylines. And so, whether they try to dip in and use competing overseas and book shows there, so we get a chance to see them used regularly. I don't know, but that's a shame, right? Because you've got all this talent at your disposal. They should be getting meaningful time, stuff that leaves those memories and things you can remember.
Mm-hmm. It is a shame. Britt Baker, prime example. She's like the longest reigning women's champion. She got injured, and then she's just been sat at home. Now, is that because of what Adam was going through as well? I don't know. Maybe he needed her, or maybe she just wanted to, help him through his times. I don't know. But where is she? She's great. She elicits reactions, whether good, bad, or indifferent, which is what you want. So bring her back. I don't know what's going on there. Mariah May, she's done so well. She's done so well. Mm-hmm. For a lot of people that didn't know much about Mariah and Stardom, she's done so well. She's now a bona fide star. Saraya's star has fallen from the highest. Sorry, go on.
So what is the role for Saraya? Is it just to be there and have a notable name? Because competing regularly hasn't happened.
I think when she signed, she had the same kind of deal that Brian had, which was if she showed any signs of concussion or injury or anything like that, she's off. She's off the road. That's it. Now, I think that actually came into effect not long after she won the title over here. And she picked up an injury. And whether or not it's a long-standing niggle, I don't know. But, she just hasn't wrestled much or if at all. Maybe she's got a clause in her contract where she can't wrestle more than once a month. I don't know. I don't know. Putting Harley Cameron under a wing is good because Saraya can go. She's a complete and utter veteran in every sense of the word. She's been wrestling since she was 13, for Christ's sake. She knows what she's doing. So giving her Harley and teaching her, and I spoke to you last week about Harley and comparing her to other female talents that...
Sorry.
Harley looks a lot better in the ring. No, folks, it's not Nia Jax. And it's that opportunity. But that opportunity again, and it's a common thread in today's pod, that the booking the writing. If the writing's not there, the wrestler can't do anything.
Yeah.
And all that crap about, oh, well, you know, go knock on the door and talk to them. You can do that till you're blue in the face. We've all read the bloody biographies from wrestlers before. You could stand there and scream till you're blue in the face to them. You'll end up probably getting the creative haven't got anything for you. Go home. What a bunch of crap. If creative have nothing for you, then sack creative because they're not being creative.
Yeah.
Idiots. Right.
Yeah.
I've told you, I said last week, I said quite a few times, me and others have sat in a pub whilst working and booked a whole year's worth of WWE TV. And it would have worked. It would have bloody worked. And if we can do it, the people that are being paid big bucks and working stupid hours, because that's the job choice that they chose, should be able to do it too.
That, in a nutshell, is pretty much what I had for us, friend. The world of wrestling being not just North American centric, but getting a chance to appeal on an international scale. I think that's what makes it enticing for us. And I think whether it's booking decisions for women, whether it's house shows themselves, I think greater appeal for wrestling all over the world needs to be really the focal point moving forward. Now, much like yourself, I'm not going to watch the King and Queen of the Ring final. I'm a wrestling fan, but also I wouldn't support that show just because
have morals, mate. You have morals.
Yeah. I'm a father of a daughter, and I understand that they're trying to change their ideologies, but they haven't. So it's not. And once that changes and the ideologies and the values, then we'll have a conversation. But I think there's a lot of countries I would love to see, and I wonder what the reaction would be like. What would it be in Germany, where WXW is really popular? Like, I wonder what a crowd would be and how they would support that, like they have with some of their other major tournaments internationally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you said earlier about like wrestlers that aren't really being used, and could they go off and do something? You just brought up WXW. Every summer they have a 3-day tournament called the Gold Rush.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why can't AEW release one or two to go over there, promote AEW in Germany, and have some great matches and raise their star a bit more? Why can't WWE send some wrestlers? When WWE and Progress had their working relationship, why couldn't they send some wrestlers over? I think they only did it once, and that was Chris Hero for their 3-day tournament, which I've completely for Progress's 3-day tournament, which I've totally forgot. But
is it SS16?
Oh, that's
Super.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Why? As you just said, you want to make this more approachable. You want to make this a global thing. Yes, you know this contracted superstar. I hate using that. This contracted wrestler is your employee. So why don't you just loan them out for a weekend to another country's promotion? It just AEW and Defy had a thing where I think, well, mainly because of Darby Allin and Nick Wayne and Swerve, there was some kind of like cross pollination between the two.
Yep.
You had all the promotions down in Southern California, and that came from the Bucks and people like that.
Oh, PWG, right?
PWG.
Yeah.
And there was another promotion I can't think of, but there was like, again, cross pollination. If the wrestler's not being used, if they're not being booked, if there's nothing for them to do, ask them, would you like to go to Germany for a weekend? Wrestle a few days, sign some autographs, sell some merch, go back to your old indie roots for a couple of days. It would be great. I don't see why the companies say, no, that's our property, or sorry, that person's our property. They're not going anywhere. If it's a global thing, as you said, if it's as Triple H has said on multiple occasions, it is a global brand. We are going all across the world. Yeah, okay, you're going as the company, but your wrestlers can go elsewhere just for a couple of days. WrestleMania weekend, Bloodsport. You had Shayna Baszler turn up. You had Charlie Dempsey turn up. That was great. I watched that live, and everyone knew Shayna was turning up. But when Charlie Dempsey came out, I messaged you. I was like, "Oh my god, Charlie Dempsey's on Bloodsport! Oh my god!" Things like that get the buzz going, and it's publicity at the end of the day. I don't know. I don't know.
I have I have that question for you. Did they go full tilt when they were competing in Bloodsport, or did it look like they were, because again, if they're a property of another company and you risk injury, is there like a liability issue, right? I mean, we know that they all take risks, but you're under somebody else's clock. Who's going to take care of you more than those within your own company? Did it come across like, no, they were going full tilt, or no, they weren't going as hard? Did she have Masha Slamovich?
Slamovich, yeah. Right. So, obviously, like I said, we as like the IWC, everyone knew that she was going to be there. And when it was announced that she had Slamovich, I was thinking, oh, okay, well, this is going to be a fun match. It won't be hard hitting because Shayna's wrestling the next night. You know, it's WrestleMania. Nah, that was not the case at all. They went it. Slamovich did not hold back, who, by the way, I'm now a big fan of. I saw her about 4 times over that weekend. But yeah, that was a good match. And then Charlie Dempsey, obviously with his dad being William Regal, he was putting people in wrist locks when he was in the womb, probably. So he knew what he was doing. That, again, he came out the blocks flying. He did not hold anything back. I honestly thought there could be some issues, but there wasn't. There was no injuries. There was no bloodshed or anything like that. It was just proper old school, hard hitting match, you know. But that's what I'm saying. That we're talking about it, and WrestleMania was what, 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We'll still be talking about it next year because when Bloodsport comes around for WrestleMania next year, but I wonder who WWE are going to let go next year. Yeah. It's promotion for WWE. It's getting that person out there and showing them that, hey, I'm not stuck in the doldrums. I'm actually right here, and look, I'm really bloody good as well. It's a win-win. It's a win-win-win. Win for the company, win for the wrestler, win for the fans.
It's going to be in Vegas, right? So that's going to be fun. If Marty Jannetty was there, he may not make the show at all. He might just disappear all week.
Oh my word! Can we talk about Marty Jannetty at all, or is that?
Well, there was an international incident. He talks.
There was
about yeah. So apparently, WrestleMania 6 in Canada. So you're just trying to tie it. Apparently, he either missed his ride, almost missed the match. Shawn Michaels was upset at him. Now, I don't know if it's a Jannetty story, but apparently that happened at WrestleMania 6 where he almost missed their match.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he met some women and a good time. Usually how stories begin and end with him, right? So one day we're going to do a deep dive. One episode, folks, right? We have to do a deep dive on some Dark Side of the Ring episodes and maybe touch upon those. But maybe that's a conversation for another day. And we both watch them first off because I'm completely finished watching them all. I enjoyed them. Some really interesting stuff. Some things I didn't know. Some people that just seem to really be angry a lot, even to the grave. So
yeah. Unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to watch over here, so we have to watch it by
nefarious
means.
Yes.
Which obviously I don't do. You know, I'm a good citizen. I don't do things like that.
Of course.
Although I am watching Ghostbusters Frozen Empire at home tomorrow, so make from that what you will.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, wrestling is global. I said last week that wrestling is all about moments. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. This week, wrestling is global. It is not specifically just to your region or your country or your continent. Wrestling is global. with that in mind, why don't you tell us what you think about what we've been talking about today? Do I have any merit in asking, WXW to loan a couple of superstars for a weekend? Or, am I wrong in thinking that the women shouldn't have a second title in NXT because I don't think they're good enough? Talk to us. Talk to me. Talk to Mark. DM us. Post us. You know where we are. We will drop our socials in a bit. But yeah, it's good old chat. Good old chat today. And I don't feel as stressed as I thought I was going to be when I started talking about Saudi and WrestleMania.
But it's healthy venting, friend. Healthy venting. You let it out. We may have to be careful when we upload the episode to click there's some explicit content, but I'm sure you'll let me know.
I will bleep it. Don't worry. I will bleep it.
So at the same time, I'm hoping you enjoyed this session, that giving me a chance to get the reins. As soon as we had finished, I'm like, already, this is what I have in mind. Let you take your foot off the gas and just be able to talk. And I'm hoping you had a mostly stress-free time just talking about the future, really, with what its role will be with wrestling. Well, especially with major promotions, right?
The wrestling as a whole is on a much better footing than what it was in 2019 when Speaking Out happened.
Yeah.
When that happened, the whole industry was just dragged through the mud. Whether, how can I put it? What people were saying, the whole industry was dragged through the mud. And then COVID happened, which put paid to wrestling full stop. And I think it's found itself again. It's come through this globalization. The shows in Australia, the shows in Puerto Rico, in France, in Cardiff, and Wales. Sorry, folks, Wales. It's getting there. It's in a much healthier position than what it was 5 years ago. And you and me have spoken about this before. When Speaking Out happened, I stopped watching wrestling. I stopped watching wrestling. I stopped writing. I didn't talk about it. It was disgusting to me. A lot of things happened in the industry that has healed a lot of the wounds, not all, but a lot. And it's on a much better footing than what it was back then. So seeing through my eyes now to back then, it's a whole different world now. And that to me is a good thing.
No doubt. Where do we go from here?
Well, in a minute, I'm going to go and grab another beer. Not too sure what you're doing.
I'm going to get to prepping for our publishing of our episode, my friend, on my end.
Yeah. Yes. That is what you're up to next. I will be working my proverbial nuts off to get this out and ready for tomorrow. And I'm not too sure what else. I may watch SmackDown tonight. I've still got Dynamite to watch. I've got Collision to watch on Saturday. It makes sense to watch Dynamite before that, but we shall see. We shall see. We never know what the future holds, especially with my wife, who just finds jobs for me to do because it winds me up, and she loves winding me up. And I can say that because she doesn't listen to this podcast, so it's great. It is absolutely great. Again, folks, just reiterating, if there's anything here that you'd like to talk about, if you have any points or discussions yourself that you'd like us to talk about on the next pod, you know what to do. Drop us a line. Drop us a line. God almighty. God, I feel like I'm back in the 80s.
You could drop us a line.
Yeah. Just DM us, message us. Don't drop us a line because, God, that makes me sound old. Mark, Marvelous Mark, drop your socials, mate.
No problem. You can reach me on Instagram at the Pro Wrestling Post, or on the Twitter X machine at Mark Madison. That's MARC with Mark, and then at Pro Wrestling PST, which is ProWrestlingPost.com's main Twitter X handle. And you can catch us on our Facebook page. Search up Pro Wrestling Post. Give us a follow. Give us some shares. We're reaching up to 15,000 followers. We're getting there slowly but surely. V1.
Good job. Good job. I'm on the Twitter at the Mark Blake, and I'm on the Insta at the_Mark_Blake. So, when are we doing this again? Are we going to go back to like talking about the news bits and bobs, or shall we just chew the fat again?
I guess we could see where the future holds us. We can talk. Are we still recording? Is this all getting chopped? This part here?
Oh, this bit? No, we'll keep this bit in.
Yeah.
We'll involve the listeners. It's fine.
Oh,
so
sure.
I was.
I don't know. We could. What do you have in mind?
I'm kind of thinking if it depends on the news. If there's anything newsworthy, we'll talk about it. If there's not really much, as it has been for the last 2 weeks, if there's not really much going on in the world, then we'll just prop up the bar and I'll have another beer, please, sir.
For sure. We tackled our Mount Rushmores last week. I think that was a lot of fun.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, that was good. And
this week we're going to globalization.
Yeah, the globalization of wrestling. Who knows?
Who knows? Next week, how to get into wrestling.
This will be like $1 million question a lot of times.
But we shall discuss this off the air because I'm sure this lot have had enough of our voices. So, on that bombshell, I will say goodbye and we will speak to you very, very soon. Adios, folks.
I bid you adieu.